Hello. Good morning, beautiful beings. It's Angie here. If it's the first time that you're seeing this live on the replay. I'm Angie. I'm the creator of this group. Journey to Soul is the name of my business, and I am an intuitive spiritual guide, mentor, and EFT tapping practitioner. And something I'm super, super passionate about is having these conscious conversations, bringing women together so that we can share wisdom, share our knowledge, and grow together, heal together, expand our consciousness, our awareness together. I think it's so important. And so I'm really excited. Natalie and I were having these conversations already. And honestly, if I could live just having these conscious conversations and just sharing them with people and listening to all the different viewpoints, I would just do that all the time. And that's what I'm calling in. So I'm just going to tag Natalie. There we are. And hopefully she's able to find us. And oh man, my hair. My hair. I'm distracted because I'm seeing all these little hairs on my head. I have, I am so stuffy. I have been sneezing nonstop since I woke up. It's brutal. Okay, approve. There you are. Yeah, and I guess while I'm on here, I thought I would just share. So next week, I've been sharing in the group and I've been sharing wherever I can. Next week, I'm hosting a free 3-day experience called Tapping into Soul, and it's just sharing my favorite things that I share in my membership monthly. And I want to give the experience to other people to experience the magic, the things that I love, and that I need. I create, I often say, like, I create, hi, Natalie. I often say I create what I need in my life. And so that's what I need in my life. And I bring people along for the ride and we support each other and it's incredible. But I want to give people the experience of some of these things because they're things that I'm really, really passionate about. So, yeah. So check that out in the group in the events. And let me introduce Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I've been sneezing all morning. I'm so
Oh,
stuffy. So stuffy. Oh my goodness. And I don't really
yeah,
think about it
the
until I
kids
go to
have the
talk.
kids have sniffles too.
Do they? Yeah.
And the pollen hasn't even started flying around yet, so
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like perhaps it's just the sign of spring equinox today. Good morning, Rosalie.
good morning, Rosalie.
So yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself to everyone, let them know what's been going on with you, and yeah.
Yeah, good morning, guys. My name is Natalie, and yeah, I love these weekly talks with Angie. It's just so awesome. So a bit about me, I actually host um, like outdoor nature curriculum online because we're all kind of from different places, different cities, even different parts of the world. So I find it's a great way to get kids really interested in nature and even through their love of nature, right? The world is constantly changing. A lot of people are waking up. A lot of people are seeing the necessity to work alongside nature, work alongside the planet to kind of undo all the harm that humans have done. So a big part of that is, I think, is basing education and curriculum lessons and everything in nature to get kids not only appreciating nature but befriending it, right? Because that's really the way to kind of get out of the old ways of doing things, right? um, you know, and kids are so amazing. They have such creativity. They come into this world with such amazing ideas. And yeah, I'm here to help them along. Teach them really fun stuff about art and science and nature. Um, yeah, and just kind of drive that, kind of drive that momentum forward and just encouraging that creativity because that's something that the world really, really needs right now is creativity, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. You know what's coming into my head? Co-creation. Like they can co-create
Mm,
with nature. Like nature is a partner
yeah,
with you, you know?
Yeah,
It
yeah. Nature
inspires.
knows. I mean, Gaia
Yeah,
knows what she needs, you know.
exactly.
So let's work alongside with her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she inspires for sure.
Mm, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And yeah, and yeah, I just love it so much. And it's interesting so much lately. I've been so like nature's always been like a really big part of my life in like the last couple of years, but like now it's kind of like to not an extreme point, but it's kind of gotten to that level where even if there's like a little insect in the house where the kids, that the kids don't want or whatever, like I don't know if you guys have these, but they're called stink bugs. I don't know
Oh,
why
yeah.
they don't really smell like anything,
Yeah.
but the kids don't like them. But so then they'll ask, can you bring the bug outside? So I'm like, okay. And then yesterday there was a wasp because it's been really warm, but then
Mm.
yesterday kind of cooled off. So there was a wasp between the screen door and like the actual like metal door or whatever. And then my daughter was like, we can't go out this door, and then she's kind of freaking out. And I'm like, it's totally okay. So I went outside and I took like a stick to kind of gently kind of coax the wasp out, and the poor thing fell. And it was
Oh.
still alive, but because it was cold, it was getting like really like lethargic and stuff again.
Hmm.
Yeah, she opened the screen door, like how you can like lock it open, and then we went grocery shopping. By the time we came back, like almost 2 hours later, the poor thing was still there, and I'm like, okay, I don't want it to
Oh,
come inside the house. So very like gently, but not being close to it too, because I mean, it's a wasp. I'm not gonna like
yeah.
pick it up with my hands.
Yeah.
And I put it, and then it fell in between the cracks of the porch, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god,
Oh,
I hope it
no.
landed softly. And I'm just like, it's like a whole new level of caring for,
Yeah.
and it's just funny, like just the different levels, like because we're not vegetarian or anything, and like, but it's just like there's no reason to, like like there's no reason to hurt like innocent little creatures if there's, I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing it to feed your family, like that's not wasting life, right? But like squishing a spider because you don't like it or you think it's gross, like that just like pisses me off. Even to the point sometimes where I'll read Garfield comic books with my kids, and like Garfield will like smash spiders, and I'm like I can't read this. I'm like, just
Like,
come on,
nope.
let's pick
Nope.
another book. I'm like, I can't. I can deal with like the Batman comic book, but a cat squishing a spider, there's just something wrong with that.
I have a
So
new
it's like kind of
appreciation for that too. I can appreciate that.
right.
I went through
Yeah.
that. Julie is the inspiration for me of being more conscious towards
Yeah.
our bugs, like the insects especially.
Yeah.
And I don't like I'd say the last 2 summers, but definitely last summer, we were so cautious. Like we were so like we've saved every bug that was in the house. And it was
Yeah.
even yesterday, I had a little tiny beetle on me, and I was like, oh, little beetle, right? And then I grabbed my bookmark because I was reading and put it on there to go take it out. And I was like, oh, here we go. The season of saving the bugs in our house has begun. Like we
Yeah.
saved so many bees last year. We had lots of bees in here, and we saved them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's different. I've never done that before. And it
Yeah.
feels good. It does feel good when you do it
Yeah.
though, because you're right, there's no
Again,
need to kill them.
yeah, yeah. Again, that co-creation, or how Rosalie just said, we need to foster nature connection. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
know
I'm not
sometimes
even
I'll
seeing
sleep and there's like
comments.
spiders scurrying around, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. My daughter's like,
Yeah.
why are you talking to the spiders? I'm like, why not?
Why not? Yeah. It's
But I
true.
actually
They have
swept them
they
up.
have a consciousness too, though. If we talk about consciousness, they have a consciousness too.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if
So,
those, yeah, like if you follow like frequency and dimensions like 1D, 2D, 3D. I mean, animals are kind of in that second dimension where
yeah.
they're recognizing that there's other creatures, or there's other, like there's a spider. Well, there's other spiders, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm a rock.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of hanging out for, a billion years being a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just moving into awareness, and that's their next level is coming into self-awareness. And then
Yeah.
when they come into self-awareness, that's the evolution of 2D into 3D, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. That I thought that was really cool to learn that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, what are we doing? I guess that's an invitation to people. Like what are we doing to appreciate nature more consciously?
Mm,
Because I think when we reject nature, we're rejecting a part of ourselves.
yeah.
We are nature. I say this often. People, we're so detached. Like, not only are we so detached from other humans, right? We're the programming has detached us from our humanity, but we're so detached from nature,
Yeah.
and so we have to consciously choose nature.
Yeah. We kind of have to, again, make it a new habit, right? Kind of
Yeah,
force it into our lives
yeah.
of, like, oh, I don't feel like going outside because it's raining. Well, just go
Go for
outside.
10 minutes.
Yeah, you're not a bag of sugar. You're not going to melt.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Like,
get your,
I'll always take my breakfast outside.
yeah. Yeah,
10
I've been
minutes.
so happy
And it
this
feels
spring
so
weather.
much better because I think I wasn't able to do it Friday because I slept in.
Mhm.
And it felt a little different, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. And the weather has been changing. Like I've been out there and remembering. It's been a tough winter for me. I don't know. It's been a very long inward winter for me. I've been so quiet. A lot of digging has been happening internally, right? But now the weather's like turning, and I hadn't been going out after a whole summer and spring and fall of being outside constantly. This winter has been so internal for me. And now I'm so excited to get back out. So I've been sitting outside too, having my coffee outside, just breathing the air in, listening. The sounds are all there, right?
Uh,
Yeah. So our topic today, mother's intuition. I can't see
yeah.
comments for some reason, so Natalie, you'll have to
Oh,
like,
okay. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
Rosalie.
seeing any.
Here, I'll read it. I'll read it for us. Yeah, so Rosalie had said earlier, happy spring.
Happy
Happy
spring.
spring, Rosalie. And then she was saying, it's so beautiful. We need to foster nature connection. Uh, and then I guess she was laughing at my spider or wasp story. She's like, this is why we have a pantry moth problem. I discouraged the kids from killing them, and now I am. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just, and it's funny because when you start placing habits just on yourself of, bringing the insects outside, even in the winter, because sometimes the stink bugs, like again, I guess it's just like a temperature thing. Well, sometimes they'll come in the house, and I'm like, okay, like this isn't your home, you
Yeah,
know. So I'll try and mindfully find the best spot for them. So I usually
yeah.
put them. There's like a flower bed that's kind of more covered from the wind, and there's dirt. So I'll put them in there in the winter, and I'm like, okay, like you can burrow yourself back into the ground.
Yeah.
But then once we start doing that again, like our kids soak up so much
Yes.
of their environment without you even noticing, and actually even grown-ups soak it in too, soak in like the little changes that you're making.
Yeah.
Um, and then one day, who knows? Maybe they'll stop sweeping for a moment to let the spider scurry back
Yeah.
into its little corner, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah, Rosalie is saying that but they live in a beautiful place, and they have a patio. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, she
yeah. Here we
she
have
Rosalie's in nature a lot. I see like she's a dog, she walks dogs, right? And so
oh,
she
okay.
goes and she lives in BC, right? Rosalie, I'm pretty sure you live in
Yeah,
BC. And like so the beautiful scenery, the forest pictures, like
yeah.
oh my goodness, her shamrock finds, she's always finding four-leaf clovers.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's very immersed in nature. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Something
right.
that's coming through about nature. It's funny, today was supposed to be about mother's intuition. We'll get there, but nature wants to talk. Also remembering like something that was really significant for me in my shift towards bugs, especially in the house,
Mhm.
is insects. Like all of nature has messages for us. They have spiritual messages for us. And so imagine Flies. I used to kill flies by like all, I didn't care. I killed them all the time. Like they were all over the house. I killed them all the
You've
time.
been to my house. Yeah. I live next to a farm.
Yeah. So so flies actually when they are around, they're actually attracted to your energy because there's decomposition. So think about death and destruction and right now spring equinox renewal, right? Birth and destruction and birth, rebirth. And they will be around your energy because things are breaking down. If you imagine a fly, they are
Yeah.
attracted to decomposing animals and flesh, right? And it's the same thing energetically. They are attracted to you. So Julie used to reframe it for me and say, like, because she hated, that was the one thing she had a hard time with, flies and mosquitoes. And she was like, but the flies are attracted only with where there is death. And if
Uh,
you're energetically, if there is death, that's a great thing. That's a great thing because there's rebirth, there's renewal.
yeah.
And so now she thanks them when they come and then they
Oh,
go away.
that is so beautiful.
Yeah. And so so that started to speak to me, right? Because I'm here, I'm on the spiritual journey. And I started to look at flies differently. And I was like, oh, thank you. Because what they do is they clear out that energy, the old energy faster. They help you decompose it faster. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. That is an amazing message. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And yeah, and insect, yeah, like you're right about insects, about everything in our lives. It's
Mhm.
all there to remind us
For
about
us.
something, to remind us of a part of ourselves that we forgot. And so I ground a lot with trees. I'll hug a tree, or I'll, when the walk when it's less damp, I'll like sit with my back up against the tree and stuff. But there's always a very powerful connection. And the other day, when I was carrying a stink bug back outside, I'm like, why don't I just be present with this little guy as I'm bringing him outside? And let me tell you, the power and the presence in that little creature was like, it just rocked
Oh,
me.
wow.
I was just like, whoa. It was a different kind of, like, I'll feel a certain type of presence with trees. And it was very similar to that, but very different as well. Like, more, I guess, more raw or more earthy, maybe like a little bit more
Mm.
primitive, but it was, I was just like, whoa. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So then, ever since then, whenever I'm trying to move an insect into like a safer spot for them, I really try and be in that moment, be present with them, like focus on them,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
You access their
yeah,
wisdom. You access their wisdom when
yeah,
you do that. And this is how medicine men and medicine women of our ancient days, like they talked to the plants. That's how they got the information. They got quiet with the consciousness of the plants and they listened for what communication these plants had to share because they each have their own wisdom. All of them have their own wisdom. Each insect has its own wisdom, and that's how oracle cards are created. The messages are channeled right from that energy, and
yeah,
so you can look at it that way too with the animals and the plants, and
yeah,
that's so
yeah,
cool. I got shivers when you were
yeah,
talking about the stink bug. Like, wow, to tap in. That's what happens when we are conscious and present in the moment
yeah,
and we use that's our intuition that leads into intuition because it comes
yeah,
to you through intuitive knowledge.
yeah, yeah. And it's the more you practice this, the more yeah, the more you practice it, like better you get at it, right?
Yeah,
It's like anything. It's like riding a
a
bike. It's like
practice.
ice skating. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a
that
practice.
knowing that and not questioning, right?
Yeah.
Because that'll often happen when we first start tapping into intuition. And maybe not
Mm.
just at the beginning, but very often in the beginning we question ourselves, like, like, is this for real? And then once we start questioning ourselves, then the ego, the mind comes in and like takes that little bit of knowledge and just like, or and then twists it around, right?
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
exactly. The programming comes in as soon as we do it. That's been my experience with intuition. I realize now in hindsight, I've always been, I mean, we all are intuitive. This is a thing too.
yeah,
Intuition is not a gift for only some special people. As a human, we have intuition. It's our nature. It is our nature. We are intuitive. And practicing it is so important. Like that, what Natalie's saying, it's all about practice. That's how the last 3 years I have been practicing it. And what happens is you start to realize you were always intuitive. You just didn't trust it. You start to
Uh,
realize the thoughts that dropped into your head were actually your intuition. Like it's not an accident, the thoughts that come into your head, you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
like yeah, I don't know how to explain that. It's just that's what happens. You practice and you realize like, oh, it isn't just my imagination. Oh, it isn't just random.
yeah, but it isn't random. Yeah, because once you experience it and once you trust that experience, once you act upon it, once if you have like again, we always talk about like inspired action
Yes.
or intuitive action. Once you actually take that action that's coming in, and then you see the beautiful results that come out of it, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
That then you start trusting yourself again, and then the
Yeah.
more you trust, the more light you're actually bringing in,
Mhm.
and then the more light you bring in, well, it's just easier. Again, it's kind of like that clogged up kitchen drain, but the more you clean it, the easier the water flows, right? The easier your light flows, the more you trust that intuition. And then it just becomes a habit where then you're thinking back to an experience you had that day. And you're like, oh yeah, that happened. But you're like, I don't even know if I did that consciously or not. So now that is your default that you just automatically do it. And sometimes you don't even realize it, right?
Yeah.
Because everything can be a habit. So doubting yourself, you know, uh, doubting yourself, doubting your abilities as a mom, as a person, doubting your ability to, I don't know, like wake up or whatever, doubting your ability to be a good person, those are all habits. So the opposite of that can be a habit as well. You just have to take action towards creating that new habit.
Yeah. That's such an important message, guys. Like, it's such an important message. And I'm even thinking of like reverse engineering, like, because when our intuition becomes a habit, we tend to then underplay the results we're
Mm,
getting. So if we're having like what's good in your life? What are the things you're grateful for, right? We think about this gratitude practice. Those things that you're grateful for, you took intuitive actions to get you there. It wasn't, do you know what I mean? We tend to give the credit to like forced actions or I worked really hard for this, but even the people that are living in that, I lived in it, right? The hustle mentality, the gotta do, and you get good results. I got good results, but when you strip it down, it was actually intuitive actions that got me those things.
yeah.
Do you know what I
Not
mean?
necessarily the
Sometimes,
hard hustle work, right?
yeah, yeah, and so sometimes we give the credit away. And that's a way of giving our power away. That it wasn't
Oh,
actually me that did it. It was luck. It was hard work. It was, because
coincidences,
yes,
you
yes,
know.
just coincidence. Yes. Can't be replicated. These are all these different ways that I see clients give their power away, right?
Yeah,
Because we don't want to take credibility for the power, but it's through your intuition that your highest and best good comes. Life is always working for us, not against us.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really important to give ourselves credit because that's not what we're told to do, right? We're
Yeah.
told to, be meek, thank, oh,
Yes.
I got this beautiful life, but because of this and this and this, because of external sources or forces or external situations. No, you, whatever the means were, whether it was like hard work or hustle or it was intuition, you did it. Give yourself credit for it,
Yes.
especially when it comes to that intuition. and thank that intuition and thank yourself. Be like, wow, thank you, Natalie, for listening and for trusting the intuition, for trusting myself. Essentially, you are trusting yourself because it's your higher self. It's that higher version of you, that future version of you that's been communicating with you your whole life. You're just now really able to listen and to hear the message.
Yeah.
Thank yourself for that.
Like really,
You know?
guys, like especially
Yeah.
mom. Okay, let's talk about mom. Like, mom, you did this. You have this family, and we tend to focus on the negative things that happen. And it's interesting. I was pulling cards for our family, actually, like for my husband and I and our family and some of the things we're dreaming up. And I pulled one card from the Starseed Oracle, and it was perspective, and it was like zoom out. None of it matters. All those little things that we're so focused on, none of it matters. What matters is that you chose to be a mom in this life, and you're doing
Yeah.
it, and you're doing it, and give yourself the credit for that. It's like, not only is being human a miracle in itself, that we're here
Yeah.
breathing, living, breathing on this planet, that is a miracle in itself. Let's take it to the next level. You brought a baby into this world.
Yeah. You brought life
You brought life to this world.
onto this plane, onto this earth plane.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
huge.
Like you are a doorway to source. You
Yes.
are literally a doorway into source because you brought this soul, this other human body, into this world.
Yes. And then you intuitively found partners, some of you, and these partners and are our greatest mirror to healing as well. Like,
Yeah.
these partners are our greatest mirror to growth. Wow. Like, you did that too.
Ah, ah. Yeah, you brought your family together because you were meant to be together right now. You did that.
I feel that so much. Like, as you say that, I'm like, yeah, I did. I did. I chose this, and I know that. At a deep, deep
Yeah.
level, I know that I chose this. And I'm
Yeah.
so, like, there are moments I'm so blown away actually by the immensity of that. I don't know if I made up a word. I don't know if immensity is a word, but I made it up.
It is now.
It's, yeah, it's immense. Yeah, we did that. We did that, guys. And it's okay to trust yourself in it. You
Yeah.
did that. You chose that. So it's okay to trust whatever you feel is right in your family,
Yeah.
despite what they're all saying out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that came in loud and clear with me this week. I was speaking with my mom, and um, I love her. She's an awesome human being, going through her own things, right? And then she responded in a way that would have normally like pissed me off or made me sad or something. But I recognized it immediately that she responds this way because that's just where she's at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So again, despite what anybody else says, even if it's your partner or your kid, right? Despite what everybody says, you are doing an amazing job,
Yeah.
and you have to give yourself credit for it because that's also part of the journey. It's not to be small and to hide in the corner. We've been in the corner for way too long, man. Step out on the center stage and be like, I fucking did this and I am awesome and I'm going to keep doing it.
Yes.
Because that's
Yeah,
what gets
own
you to
it.
that next level of trust. That's what that's how you get to that next level of trust and being centered in yourself and being centered in that intuition. Being like, yes, I trust this. Let's go. Right? I trust
Yeah.
my intuition. I trust this mother's intuition. Let's keep going with it.
Yeah,
Right?
and get excited. Like, what can I create now? Well,
Yeah.
man, like, what wants to come through? What co-creation wants to come through?
Yeah.
Invite it. Invite it. Like, we're free will beings, so invite it.
Yeah. See where it takes you. Life's supposed to be an adventure, right? It's supposed to be fun. And I
And
mean, this
having,
world tries to dampen that excitement. It tries
yeah,
to dampen that positivity. Um, but we're seeing now the more light, even just doing what you do at home, is bringing more light into this world.
yeah,
And it's bringing more light into your family. And sometimes those are the things, we're always so focused on, you know, how to help others or how to, save the planet or help the world or whatever, these big movements. But that's not it at all. It's how can you just bring more presence, more light, more love into the moment that you are right now? Maybe you're just in the room with a cat. Okay, how can you bring more love into the moment? Maybe you're doing the dishes with the kids. Okay, how can I bring more kindness or presence into this moment? And that's actually what that's actually how it works, right? It's these small acts. And then one day someone's going to share a story with you. Like my husband shared a story with me the other day of he was driving to the hardware store with our brother-in-law, uh, and our brother-in-law opened up about a couple of events from his childhood, um, and my husband was like, kind of like, whoa, like it was unexpected and
mm,
everything, but he just listened, and he just listened to my brother-in-law, right? And then he shared it with me. Well, he just shared the experience. Obviously, he didn't go into any details. But I was so floored because I'm like, whoa, because I'm offering more space and more presence, just being present
mhm,
and, you know, just in conversations with your family, just being present, not like listening to really listen, like focusing on the
yeah,
person, not listening to add in your 2 cents. Just listen to listen, focus, right? People need to be heard. And then you do that enough, and then they're going to take that little bit of wisdom or that new habit that you've created, and whether they do it knowingly or not, they offer then that space to someone else.
yes. And that's how it works. That's how it
Oh, that
works.
is totally how it works, right? it's
Truth
it's
bombs.
so simple. It's so simple. But then when someone shares that with you, you're like, holy
Whoa.
shit, right? Like, whoa.
It's like those moments when your child like repeats back to you something that you've shared and you think they're not even listening about that, you
Yeah.
know? And so you're often like trying to control and push and lecture and lecture and nag whatever, right? And then
Oh,
there's this moment that they use it with ease in their own language and you're
yeah.
like, and like take those
Yeah.
moments to celebrate because
Yeah.
that is flowing through your intuition. And something that's coming through for me lately that I want to share because it's very relevant to this conversation in the family unit, right? We like remembering we are a channel, we channel energy and we can channel divine love. Like, so it's hard sometimes for us to love unconditionally as humans, right? But there is this never ending flow of divine love throughout our entire, through everywhere, throughout all that is, right? And we can choose to channel that, allow ourselves to be a channel for that love and just channel it into the challenging situation. So that's been coming up for me lately as a lesson is that I don't need to do anything in the challenging situation. I just need to
Yeah.
consciously ask for divine love to come through.
Yeah.
And then, so when you were talking about really listening, just listening, not to step in, not to do anything, not to say anything, that's a prime moment actually to ask for that divine love to come through. And you allow
Wow.
the love transmutes, divine love
Yeah.
transmutes, so it will just come through and transmute what needs to be transmuted if you can just
Yeah.
stop long enough to allow it.
Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful.
It's,
Yeah.
you're bringing love to a situation. It's
Yeah.
challenging. We tend to be problem solvers, moms. Yeah,
Yes.
that's like my number one strength.
Right. Yeah.
It works against us sometimes.
It does. And we don't realize it. We don't recognize it until we can get to that point of awareness of noticing within ourselves, right? Yeah, especially those challenging situations. There was one a couple of days ago. between a couple of members of my family, and to add to this challenging situation, it was like 3 a.m. or something. And I immediately recognized their own pain bodies, right? Because it's easier, and this is like kind of a term that Eckhart Tolle uses, pain body. It's essentially like when someone's really sad or angry and wants to suck. So when someone's angry, that triggers the anger inside of you, right? Kind of that, that shadow or that pain body or however you want to call it. And then you get angry, and that's essentially what an argument is, right? Like back and forth, the anger feeding off each other, happening at like 3 a.m. But I'm like, and it was interesting because I was noticing in myself that I wanted to jump in and again be the problem solver, right? When it comes to the defense of someone. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. And that's like a habit now of like, no, I'm just going to, this is not my relationship. It's none of my business. I'm not going to assume how this is going. But then I kind of took it to a deeper level of I noticed my mind like, well, like this person shouldn't have said that, or doesn't this person realize this? And then I'm like, whoa, I'm noticing all these things in other people, but what do I need to notice inside myself, right? And then I just noticed like the tension in my pants, right? And in my face. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna breathe into these parts of my body.
Yeah.
And then eventually, the situation resolved itself. And again, I was trying to not get kind of, again, snared up in that anger or snared up in my own assumptions of how it should turn out, right? Because we always, as moms, especially problem-solving moms, we are like, this is the only resolution. There's only this one resolution. There's no other way this situation should be resolved or should end. It has to be this way, maybe this way, right? Maybe one or two. But there's 1,000 million different ways you could end.
Infinite.
You just have to be present and just be. And I knew because, it would be quiet for a while. And then, someone would pipe in and I'm like, that's their pain body trying to like poke people, right? Because family members are still good at poking each other, right?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, no, and I went back inside my body and I'm like, okay, why am I feeling this?
Yeah.
Right? And then breathing into it. Yeah, so I don't know what the point of that story was. But but it's recognizing, like especially in those heated moments, and like the problem solve, like when
It's a
our
problem
trauma wants to
solving.
come out and fix
Yes.
things, because as moms we're told we need to fix this. We need to fix our kids'
Yes.
behavior. We need to fix this. Oh, your kid isn't potty trained yet. He's 4 years
You need
old
to
and he's still in
fix
diapers
that.
at night. You need to fix that. You need to fix that. You need to fix their eating habits. You need to fix this. You need to fix that. You need to fix, your family does this, you need to fix that. That's not healthy. That's not fit. We're always told to fix, 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 fix. Well, sometimes the
Nothing's
fixing
broken.
bites you in the ass because you are like shoving yourself into the drama. You don't need to go. It's okay. Oh, this is coming in. It is okay to not involve yourself in the drama, whether that's between your kids, whether that's between, your in-laws or your mom or your parents, your partner, whatever it is, you do not need to get sucked into the drama. It's okay not to be sucked into the drama, right? It's okay not to jump into arguments. It's okay to walk out of the room or walk outside. And it's okay to literally voice, I am not going to be part of this discussion.
That's what I've
I
been
love you
saying. Yeah.
all. I'm going for a walk.
Exactly. Where and nothing's broken, guys. Nothing's broken. Like that's it's an illusion that something's broken. And when we put that fixing energy out into our family, we're sending in an energetic message that we think they're broken or we think
Oh,
this is broken. And that's really important to know consciously that there is an unconscious message going out that this is broken and it is felt by the other beings in your household.
yeah. Oh,
And I guarantee that's not the message you want to send them.
right? Yeah.
It works against you. Like ego might want to send that message, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but you who you truly are, does not want to send that message. It's out of alignment with who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, because nothing is broken.
Nothing's broken. It's all an experience, right? Don't we say this all the time? You say this all the
Yeah,
time.
it's all an experience.
It's
It's
all an
all part of the
experience. It
illusion.
is just an experience. And it's an
Yeah.
experience for you. It's an experience for you. Like Natalie, you used that great example actually of like seeing the problem solver in you wanting to fix, right?
Yeah.
So that experience happens for you and you choose whether you take that invitation or not. So you choose to take the invitation to go within and feel, where am I feeling this? Oh, I'm feeling tension in my shoulder blades, right? I'm going to breathe into that. I'm not
Yeah.
going to step in here. I'm not going to. It's none of my business. It's not my relationship. Like, I love all those things you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are
And
other
that's,
relationships going on in your house.
yeah, yeah. And that's creating space. That is literally how you create space for yourself and for others,
Yeah.
right? Let
Yeah.
me see what Rosalie was saying. Oh yeah. So Rosalie is sharing that on this topic, she says, my son just mentioned last night that I have fostered a love of walking in the forest for him. Wow. He
Ah,
may choose to
yes.
move to the US in the future, but he wants nature around him. Wow.
That's your influence. Beautiful.
That's so powerful. And I don't think we even recognize for ourselves how powerful those gifts are that we're giving to our children,
Yeah.
right? Like kind of those intangible gifts of, again, just loving walking through the forest, right? Being in nature. That is such an incredible gift
And
that
that's
you're offering to your
Rosalie.
son.
Rosalie, you're following your intuition and following what feels good, right, for
Yeah.
yourself. And when you do that, you inspire. Do you see? And that's exactly a prime example of how you inspire just by following what feels good, following your intuition. When you follow your intuition and you feel good, it ripples out. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
He's now inspired. He now
Yeah.
realizes that he feels good and he's going to continue following that intuition.
Yeah.
Intuition's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
And Natalie, I have an interesting question for you. I'm just wondering from your perspective, like, how do we teach our children intuition? Because, we're programmed to teach in a certain way too, right? Like,
Mhm.
and we're and teaching children intuition is not something that this world encourages. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm
Not
interested.
anymore. Yeah. That's kind of one of those lost wisdom.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
You have what? I have my 2 cents for that. You have 2 cents for that? Teach intuition. It is a gut feeling. All you can do is
um,
encourage it. Yeah,
yeah, I
Kyle
think it
just said
all. Oh,
Kyle just jumped in because he's like, I have 2 cents on that. And he's like, you can't teach intuition because it's a gut
oh,
feeling. And
yes,
he's like, so you can
yeah,
encourage it. You can encourage it. You can't teach it. That's what
yeah. Well,
that's.
that was going along the lines. So thank Kyle for me.
Natalie says, thank
um,
you.
that was going along the lines of what I was going to say is, and again, this is kind of depending on how your relationships are with your family and how your relationships are with your children. But it's more something that you just demonstrate yourself, right?
Yes.
Like with my son is a lot more open to this than my daughter, and that's fine. I'll use different language. Uh, like with my daughter, I'll be like, okay, well, how do you feel about this? Right? Like, how do you feel? Or if that person didn't say that, or if you hadn't read that, how would you feel about the situation, right?
Yeah.
Um, and with my son, I can go a lot deeper, where we'll talk about our spiritual guide and our white light, and uh, you know uh, uh, I have one of my spirit animals, the bird, um, and he has a dragon. So with one day he described his dragon so beautifully to me. So often when he's kind of having a hard time, or even when we're looking like, yeah, when he's having a hard time with something, yeah, sometimes if it's appropriate, right? Because sometimes when his emotions are really big, they're just kind of they're focused on that, that anger or that sadness, kind of hard. to talk to them in that moment, but later on, before or after. Um, but even like make it fun, right? Like let's say let's say he's looking for a toy or we're looking for a tool or something. I'm like, well, ask. Sometimes he'll be like, ask your bird. I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, you ask your dragon. Um, or when we're cleaning up the yard, especially in spring, right, when all the snow melts and we get a lot of like paint flecks, like the yellow
Mm.
chips of paint from the road. So we'll be picking it up and cleaning up the grass, and like it's easier to find the bigger pieces. But then I'm like, okay, I feel like there's more here. So we kind of made a game of we actually asked nature, or we asked Gaia, we asked the earth, hey, show me the next thing that I need to pick up.
Oh,
Show
beautiful.
me. Like we literally say, just show me, and boom, like the little, we'll see a cigarette butt or another chip of, a little fleck of paint. So make it into a game too, because
I
the
love
whole point
that.
of this life is to have fun, right? And as adults, the fun has been inadvertently been sucked out of our lives. But make it fun. It doesn't have to be this serious, like face to face. Okay, so we are all a giant. We're all
Yes.
tiny little drops of this thing called source, this thing called God, and like don't get into like you don't have to do that. Just make it fun, right? Like because children, especially those that are really young, if you have children that are 6 years old or younger, they're still very much attuned to spirit guides, to nature, to the creatures that I mean, and this may sound woo-woo to some of you, and again, take what resonates with you, right?
Yeah.
But children are born with the ability to see more than we can see as adults. You know,
Yeah.
they can see the divine creatures, they can see um, the beings that aren't physical,
They
right? They
can
can
see the
see the spirit
unseen.
guides.
They
They
see
can
the
see or
unseen.
they can feel it, whatever. And um, their third eye isn't as clouded, um, and that can in some children that ability decreases over time because it's not fostered, right? It's not
Mm.
encouraged. And even if they're older than 6 years old, you can re-encourage this, right? Again, make it a game. Um, and whatever comes intuitively, like that show me thing, that just popped in my head. I think it was like last summer or 2 summers ago. I was cleaning up and I'm like, I don't know what else. Like, where's the next piece of garbage? Like, show me, and boom, like, and it worked, right? And I'm like, okay, and I
Damn.
did it again, and it worked again, and I'm like, holy shit! So I did it the whole day, and then the next time when my son is around, I'm like, hey, like, you want to see something really cool? And then I did it, and he's like, you try, and it worked for him too. So again, it's a game, right? It's fun. Make it fun. Um, and even in those moments where they're having a hard time, or they're scared, maybe they woke up in the middle of the night and they're having a nightmare, you know. Um, and again, 2 a.m. is not the time to explain have a lecture about dreams and nightmares and how it's your brain processing all the. That's not the time. Not the time to have the conversation. But get them to be like, okay, call your dragon in, you know, like like when I have a hard time, like the other night, that three lesson, I called in one of my spirit guides. I'm like, okay, come lay with me, like I need, and this spirit guide's an animal. I'm like, come snuggle with me. I need help. Help me become present. Tell your kids that whatever their spirit animal is or their spirit creature, whether that's a little fairy or a dragon, whatever it is, whatever comes naturally to them. Don't push them into a specific thing. I'm just whatever they're bringing to you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an imaginary friend, right? How many of us have had imaginary friends, right? Just get them to, again, the nightmare scenario. They woke up and they're having nightmares. Be like, well, ask your whatever the creature or the being is. Ask them to come in with you. They'll lay in the bed. They're always
Yeah.
around. You just have to ask them, right? Be like, okay, slumber party, come and snuggle me, right? Or hold my hand while I fall asleep. They can ask, whatever it is, their dragon, their fairy, their
Whatever they
angel,
need.
come in, lay next to me, wrap a big fuzzy blanket around me, hold my hand, come with me in my dreams, right? Like
Yeah.
just teach them those skills.
I teach my kids that they're free-willed. Like I teach them that they can ask for anything, but they have to ask for it. So this is something I've always been teaching them is that if you're scared, if whatever the feeling is and you want someone and I'm not available, I always tell them like you can ask. You can ask and it will be provided.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's
And
an
that's how,
important
yeah,
thing to program, like a habit, that, because then they just know it will always be provided, no matter what. If I ask, it will be provided.
yeah,
That's a really important message that's coming in like, wow, I'm almost feeling like I need to really, really ingrain that even more. Like, what a
yeah.
beautiful
And it's a,
belief.
yeah. And then that helps their confidence too.
Yeah.
From when they're young, they're like,
Yeah.
wow, I have all this power. Whether, maybe they were walking, maybe they went for a walk around the neighborhood or they were walking to the library and they took a different turn or they
Yeah.
decided to take a shortcut and then they're
Yeah.
like, crap, I don't know where I am. Or just ask your guides. Be like, okay, guys, I'm on a different street. Can you help me find my way back to the library?
Yeah.
And maybe that'll come in the shape of a butterfly, and then they start following the butterfly. Or maybe it's a stranger that is like, hey, do you need help? That happened once to my son. He he was walking up ahead of us, in like very, very small town. I wouldn't necessarily do this in like downtown Toronto or anything. Um, but yeah, and he told me after, he's like, I didn't know where I was, and I knew I needed help. And then this gentleman, this guy came and asked me, oh, you need help with something. And he's like, yeah, how do I get to the library? And the guy walks into the
Awesome.
corner. He's like, then, take the next two lefts, and then you're there. And then he shared that story with me when we met up at the library. And I'm like, damn, that's awesome. I'm like, see, you did that. I'm like, you asked for help from your guides. We use the word guide in our family. And I'm like, there you go. And then I'm like, and your guide brought you this gentleman who helped you, steer your way back to the library. Like, that's freaking
Yeah.
awesome, right? And then that just helps our kids, first of all, remember, it helps them start to remember who they are. And if they're starting this process at like 7 or 8 years old, guys,
Yeah.
holy shit, we're in our
Because
30s and
I
40s and
could use this.
we're
I could use this more in my life.
right? Yeah. And then it helps them be confident, like actually like true confidence of they know that they're safe and secure in this world. They're safe and secure in their body. That is true confidence
And
to
this is
have.
the cultivating, you're cultivating the everything is within. You're cultivating
Mm-hmm.
that. And that's the truth. That is the truth. It's not just a belief that we're making up. This is the truth. The truth is that everything is within, right? But you are like literally this practice you're sharing is cultivating it. Like what a beautiful practice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Oh, and Jordan's watching. Good morning, Jordan.
Hi,
Yes.
Jordan.
Dang it, I missed all the good stuff, didn't I? Oh no, we'll
Oh
share some
no.
really awesome stuff just for you. And you can always watch the replay.
Yeah. And we actually, I don't know that we've talked too much about intuition. We've gone all over the place. It's been a great
Yeah.
conversation though. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Something too that I wanted to share as we're talking about, these practices and teaching our children, right? And demonstrating for our children. There's this woman, Sherry Divband. She's really interesting, and I highly recommend checking her out. She's from Ontario, Northern Ontario, and she has a YouTube channel, but she created a children's series called Divinely Guided Children, and it's a little animated series teaching children these things, teaching children their natural abilities, and it's actually really beautiful. It's like, it's a project that she's put together for free, and those videos are on YouTube. So I watch those with the girls, and so it gives them some of the languaging, because I feel I'm very serious. You were saying like don't be so serious, like
Yeah.
that's actually a challenge for me with the kids. I get so serious, and like Alice is like tunes right out, right? And
Yeah.
Leah's into it. It's the same with you. Like one's into it, one's not. One I can talk to, one I can't, right? But the one I can talk to, she's 4, so she only so much like that she takes in. But this show, Divinely Guided Children, is really awesome. It's a little series, and she's trying to create like a new way of education. So it's pretty cool. She's trying to
Uh,
create that community. So I would highly recommend checking her out. Um, She works with children with autism, and she connects with their souls. She's a quantum healer, and that's who she works specifically with. And their souls tell her such amazing things. Like it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been using as a resource.
Yeah.
But I love what you're sharing. Like I look forward to trying that more with my children. I don't think I play that way with
Yeah.
them. And I get the
Yeah.
message like play with it, play with the experience. Be
Yeah.
open, play with them.
Yeah.
We're often
And,
afraid of our children, I think, if their intuition because we don't understand it and we don't
mm,
have it.
yes. And also I think because kids are very honest. They don't have that like that filter or that
Yeah.
veil yet of this is not polite in society, right? Like just that brutal honesty of like, what was it the other day? Oh, it was yesterday, and my 11-year-old was like, "Your eyebrows look really weird." I guess like when you like put a shirt on or whatever, sometimes your
Oh,
eyebrows
and
just
it
like.
gets all,
And I was just like, I was like taken aback and a little insulted, and then I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh, whatever, and I laughed it off, right? But I think
yeah,
that's also what kind of that fear that you were saying is because they were so honest
they
and we're
are.
not honest with ourselves, right? So
Yes,
they
so
bring
it's
that honesty
uncomfortable.
to the forefront with neon
Yes.
signs.
That's why we're so triggered, guys. Oh my God, that's really
Yeah.
important. We're not honest with ourselves. And we're becoming honest with ourselves. This is the process right now, right? We're becoming honest with ourselves. The veil is lifting. We're becoming more aware. And be gentle with yourself. It's okay that you're not
Yeah.
honest with yourself. It's a protection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
such a
mean, yeah. I mean, again, the thing with mother's intuition is how do you, and okay, this is a question maybe for you, Angie, how do we know that it's intuition and that it's not, something else like judgment or, our mind making up a drama,
yeah,
like how do I, because I think that's maybe one of the biggest hurdles
yeah.
is recognizing when it's intuition as opposed to something else.
Well, one thing we'll know for sure is the outcome will tell you. The outcome will feel good. The outcome will always feel good if it's intuition. Well, okay, I shouldn't say, no, I shouldn't even say that because sometimes it leads us into a lesson, right? Our intuition will lead us to a lesson that may not feel good. How do I do it? I don't, oh gosh. I don't know because I'm like intuition doesn't always feel good, but intuition wants the best for a highest good. I don't know how to explain it because I feel I've always been intuitive.
Mm,
I've always followed my intuition and life hasn't always felt good. What, Kyle?
yeah,
It doesn't lie. Yeah, intuition doesn't lie. That's what Kyle just said.
yeah, yeah,
It'll always work out for the best. That's what I was saying. Yeah, it's always working out for the highest and best good. It doesn't harm others. It doesn't harm you.
mm. That's actually a great, oh, that's probably gonna be really loud. How you said that it's not going to harm others. That's probably a really good hint
Yes.
of, is this intuition or is this just my mind?
Yeah.
My shadow, the little devil on my shoulder, making shit up,
Yeah. Yeah. Because
right?
ego doesn't care about others.
No, no. And sometimes, and I'm sure you do this too, Angie, I think we've spoken about it before, when you're trying to make a decision or you're asking, because sometimes you just want to also ask your intuition, um, like what can I do, kind of what's the next step? But I always add, for the greater good of all,
Hmm.
for the greater good of me, but also
Yeah.
for all,
For
like
all.
everyone benefits from
Yes.
this, right? And that I think will also weed out the ego because the
Yes.
ego's like, oh, that's boring. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go sit in the
I
back.
don't want any part
I'm
of
gonna go have a
that.
smoke in the back. This is boring, right? And then
Yeah.
that gives more space for your intuition, your mother's intuition to come in and maybe there's nothing that comes in, right? But even if you just kind of have that sense of peace or just contentment,
Yeah.
sometimes that's
But
enough
making
too,
that a
right?
habit, making that a habit is really important, actually. What you're saying is like the highest good of your family. Like we think about the highest good for all. That's big sometimes, right? Thinking about the highest good for all humanity. But you can start with your family. What's the highest good for my family? And whoever's in that family, you decide, right? But
Yeah.
that's the intention you put out there. So one thing is your intuition will work with your intention. So if you make conscious intentions as being the highest good, what's the next right action for the highest good, highest and best good of my family, of everyone involved? Then your
Yeah.
intuition will lead you that way. So you have the power to be intentional. And I think that's really important too. You have the power to be intentional so you can decide the intuition, you can decide the intuition's going to come through, but it's going to be for the highest and best good of my family,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
then
I like
follow the action.
you also brought up an important point, that sometimes it's hard to remember. Is sometimes intuition, sometimes it doesn't feel that great as you're moving
Yes.
through it, because again, it's taking you out of your comfort zone, right?
Yes.
And that's uncomfortable. And sometimes it even literally feels like your insides are getting squeezed, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so also kind of keep that in mind too. But just trust, and even when it
Trust.
feels uncomfortable, just be like, okay, my intuition is guiding me
Yeah.
towards the greater, towards a resolution for the greater good of all, towards a situation that's gonna be good for everyone, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter how you phrase it; it's more like how you feel inside,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And, you know, I think an important piece to that too is it's uncomfortable. What was I going to say? Shoot, I lost my thought. Ah, it was important. I was like, this is good. Oh, I forget. I lost my thought. Intuition. We were talking about intuition. Highest and best good. Oh, you can ask. This is what I was going to say, guys. Like, remember that you are not at the whim of your intuition. You're not at the whim of guidance. Like, you can ask if things are getting tough, if that squeeze is really hard for you and your family at that moment, you can ask for guidance. You can ask for guidance, your guides, to help soften the lesson, right? And I think this is important. Like, you can say, hey, whoa, this is feeling a little too intense. You
Yeah,
know, I want the greatest good of all of us, but can we soften it up a little bit on me?
yeah. Don't be afraid to ask them. Yeah, to ask for
Ask,
that help,
ask for
right?
that. Yeah.
To soften it up a little, or like, can we pull back a little bit?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you're not sure if it's intuition or ego, guys, ask. When you ask directly, it's not going to be the ego, it will be your intuition. So that's another important piece to take away. And so I think that's a really important piece is that ask. Know that you're so powerful. Ask.
Yeah,
And when you
yeah.
ask, when you are intentional and you ask, it's coming through your intuition. It's not coming through your ego. Because like you said, your ego is going to be like, that's not fun.
Yeah,
There's no drama here. I don't like it.
yeah. And don't be afraid to ask your intuition, guys. Don't be afraid to ask for that intuition, because there's something called free will, where your guides, your angels, whatever you want to call them, they can't just be like, drop it and be like, hey, I'm going to help Nat distract her son. You have to ask for that. Be like, hey, can I get a little bit of extra help here?
Yeah.
Because they can't do anything unless you ask.
Yeah.
Again, there's free will. And I know we kind of mentioned that once in a while
Yeah.
on these talks. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't be
There's
afraid
no,
to
and
ask.
that's something else that moms have trouble asking for, is help with other, asking help either in this physical world or even like the non-physical world,
It's
right?
kind of better though, guys, to ask. So this is why I love oracle cards, because asking oracle cards doesn't feel threatening. Like it can feel threatening to ask for support from another human. right? It can feel triggering, like you might expect that you might get triggered if you ask for support from another human and don't get it. Here's the thing, in the unseen world, your beings, your guides, your light beings, our angels, they will not refuse you, right?
Yeah.
This is why cultivating that belief with your children that,
Most
you know,
definitely.
I am always provided for, like it will always, you know, whatever I ask for
Yeah.
will happen.
It's always there. We just have to ask and also be open to it,
And
right?
then be
Because
open.
sometimes when we
Yes.
ask, we're kind of like in that moment of frustration. And then that can be kind of hard for that intuition or that next action to come in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or
Yeah.
we're expecting a result. So we might
Yeah, we're
ask with an
expecting something. Yeah.
expectation. Yeah. You don't want to ask with an
I know
expectation.
the cord's getting pulled.
So trust is very much required. Well, we
Yeah.
are at the end. Um, yeah, we're at the end.
Yeah, this was
Is
a
there
great
anything
topic.
more?
I feel like we could probably dive into like subcategories
I think so
of an
too.
awaken
Yeah.
in this, right? Yeah.
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 But you guys are more powerful. That's what I'm going to leave you with. More powerful than you think.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rosalie and Jordan, and anyone else tuning in that I may have missed.
yeah,
Um,
thank you, ladies.
yeah. And thank you, Angie. This was a great chat.
This was an awesome chat, always. I
Yeah.
love these
And again, a
chats.
message that I feel, again, can bear repeating um, sometime in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Have
Oh,
a
thank you,
wonderful day.
Rosalie. Okay.
Oh,
Bye,
oh,
guys. Love
now
you.
I'm
Have a
seeing
great week.
comments. That's so funny. Now I'm
Oh,
seeing
yeah. Rosalie
comments.
said that she gleaned a lot from this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. Have a wonderful Sunday and a wonderful week, guys.
Yeah. Happy spring equinox. Enjoy.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay, bye.